Well,
love it.
I thought the beers were like complimentary.
Love it. It's so country truck driving.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah,
It's rockabilly.
That's not rock. I wouldn't call it rockabilly.
No,
it's
of course you wouldn't.
It's more country and western.
I think there was banjo in there.
Yeah.
There was a bit of banjo.
Bit of banjo picking.
Swampabilly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Look, I don't think that's it. I like it,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's our walk-on song just yet.
No.
No.
It's one for home.
We'll try harder.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the CarsGuide podcast, where we tear down, pressure test and rebuild the issues of the automotive week. I'm James, and with me are Richard
Hello.
and Matt.
G'day.
This week, among other things, we'll look at the warranty arms race that's just taken another big step up, Holden's future through the eyes of one of the brand's elder statesmen, sales trends at the end of the first quarter, and interesting developments at Ferrari. So stay with us. But first, must watch. Yes, well, the update. Crazy Elon. He's actually has taken personal control of Model 3 production because, of course, he's the most qualified person on the planet for that role.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's sleeping at the factory and puts his hand up to having made 202 Model 3s in the last 7 days, which, of course, has helped weekly production hit 2,000 units, which is still only 500 units off their claimed run rate that we were going to see about a year and a half ago.
Still pretty good.
Still pretty good.
Yep.
But I would imagine there might be other people out there that know about putting cars together and ramping up production.
Yeah.
Rather than this guy.
Yeah.
And he's actually elbowed his chief of engineering and production out of the way, who was formerly at Apple.
Right.
So, you know,
he didn't know anything about building
he's a
product.
car guy through and through.
Yeah.
So it's all go.
So he's putting them together himself. Like, surely he's just getting in the way. I'll do that. Can I do that?
I don't know. I've just got an image of him in a boiler suit with some
He must be
gloves on.
banners and stuff.
He must be the most highest paid production line worker in history.
Best use
Ever.
of his time.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
For sure. He's got to delegate, that guy.
All right.
Delegate.
There you go. Crazy Elon for another week. We'll keep you updated with his shenanigans. But talking of Tesla, the company in Australia has just announced an 8-year warranty. Now, the fact is, it's not unlimited kilometres. It's actually only 160,000, but 8 long years. It's certainly a market topper in terms of time. But Richard, you're saying why stop there? Why should 8 years be the minimum?
Yeah, well, look, I remember a few years ago when Hyundai brought out their 5-year warranty. That was quite, outstanding for the time. And then Kia brought out its at the time unbeatable 7-year warranty, and now we've got 8. But why stop there? Like, what happens at 8? What happens after 8?
I mean, it raises the question, doesn't it? A warranty, in a consumer's eyes, a warranty is either a brand's confidence in its ability to deliver a product that'll be, pretty much trouble-free for a long period of time, or a consumer will say, oh, gee, I need an 8-year warranty. That thing's got to be a bucket of bolts because they don't trust the fact that it'll go without the backup of a warranty. What do you make of that, Matt?
Well, we've heard Toyota say before that they won't back their cars with a longer than 3-year warranty because they trust that their cars will last.
Exactly.
And you would hope that if something did go wrong with a Toyota at year 6 or 7, that maybe they'd give you a little bit better support than maybe another brand.
Good point.
But I don't think I think it's an important thing for people to consider when they do buy a new car.
Right.
And there's the benefit that they can pass that warranty on to the next person.
It transfers with ownership.
Yeah. And that's the case for the Kia warranty, which is 7 years, and also for this new Tesla warranty.
Well, with the Tesla, there's only about 6 moving parts anyway.
Well,
they're like 4 wheels, and you open a door and maybe the steering wheel. There's not much to go wrong.
What's a little bit frustrating, though, is that it might be 8 years, but it's only 160,000 kilometres. Kia's 7-year warranty is a 7-year unlimited
kilometre.
Yeah.
And we were having a chat about this in the office earlier, and one of the guys was saying that his auntie, that was the selling point for her because she works in occupational health. She drives all over Wollongong, all over the state.
Yes.
And for her, that unlimited kilometre side of the warranty was the big selling point. Because she puts stacks of miles on that car.
Yeah.
Whereas I think it's actually a clue to the current use to which people put their Teslas.
Yes.
You know, despite a lot of chat about superchargers up the East Coast and here, there and everywhere, they are still predominantly a city car.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be racking up the big Ks where interstate drivers might be. So the unlimited thing becomes less relevant. 160 seems actually like a big number for a Tesla.
Yeah.
In the US, for example, the Kia warranty is 10 years or 100,000 miles, so 160-ish thousand
kilometres, right.
So 10 years, that's unbelievable.
10 years, wow.
Yeah.
But even, you know, you just drive it to the shops or church on Sunday driver over 10 years is probably going to be giving 160,000 Ks a nudge.
Yeah.
You'd think you'd be flat out trying to keep under that number over 10 years. That starts to become more of an arm wrestle with your dealer. I want the extended, you know, miles or kilometres or whatever it is.
I'm determined to find out as well what actually happens at a service visit for a Tesla too.
Yeah, I'd like to know how much it costs because what do they do?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of information out there on it. And I suppose it's our job to get to the bottom of it. So we will.
Yeah.
Suppose so. All right, great. Let's move on. This week in the wash-up after the New York Auto Show, it's still running, but the media preview days were actually at the end of last week. The godfather of the Holden Monaro, Michael Simcoe, a person who basically grew up at Holden professionally, to now become GM's Vice President of Global Design. So he's the big kahuna in terms of how GM products look globally, has gone on the record. We've got a story on the website that says Holden has a mountain to climb in terms of either regaining or gaining success, depending on how you see it, in this marketplace. And he says that's mainly because he thinks people think that Holden is shutting down because of all the chat around, the cessation of local production. And that's really the conventional wisdom every time one of these plants is closed down through Mitsubishi and the more recent ones. I say because I think it's more because their lineup is lacking in key areas. You know, Holden sales are down 23% year on year on the most recent data that we've got. The Astra, for example, which should be firing in the small hatch market, is 8th in that segment.
Yeah.
You know, wherever you look through Spark, Barina, Astra, they're not really where they should be. They're massive also-rans. The only kind of semi-shining lights are the 4x4 Colorado, and there are a few that have only been around for 5 minutes. Like, I suppose we've got to give the benefit of the doubt for Commodore for a start, and Trailblazer and a few others. But
even like the Equinox, which is a brand new SUV, you'd think that a brand new SUV could get some market traction.
Yeah.
327 sales in March, and that's below the Ford Escape. That's below.
Well, the way it normally goes is, if you've got a new model, you are going to get a burst of early adopters, people that want to own that car, and you're going to get vultures hanging on branches when it's about to leave, and you'll get a burst if you do your run out well at the other end. And there should be a bump.
Not to discredit Renault, but the Renault Koleos outsold the Holden Equinox for March.
Wow,
that's absurd.
And it's almost, being Renault, it's almost a niche brand.
Yeah. This is. I mean, I think they do have a mountain to climb, and it wouldn't. To be honest, I don't think that it would be too long of a bow to stretch to see Holden shut down in Australia at some point, because what is it costing them to keep this operation going?
I agree.
What are they getting from it?
Yep.
The effort required to they've got to engineer cars for right-hand drive for different markets, but that ends up with us getting a lot of cars that maybe aren't as good as what they get in the US.
Agreed.
So
it's a tricky one.
It's I was going to say, Matt, I completely agree. Now that Opel now that Peugeot now have the blueprints and the technology and the property of Opel, which includes Commodore, Insignia, and Astra. Next 5 years it'll be a Holden Commodore, but I can easily see Opel taking that and going.
Well, sitting at the crux of it, as far as I'm concerned, is that Holden's unique selling proposition is gone.
That's right.
Australia's car, she's a beauty and all that kind of palaver is now worthless because it's just another import brand like anybody else's.
That's right.
What was an advantage has become a disadvantage. Ford was always seen as, not quite as local as Holden because it's actually that blue oval and it's global. Now, that's a major ace up their sleeve. Because they're seen as a credible brand in the market, whereas Holden is like, what are you doing here? Why are you here?
I think, not to discredit Mike Simcoe, if he's the head of design, a lot of the problem is a lot of their cars don't look like each other.
Sure.
Yeah. So you look at family brand, like SUVs in different model lines and other brands that have got cars that all look very similar to one another.
Yes.
Like Mazda, for example, tend to do quite well. Where Holden's model lineup, none of them look like they match up.
And that's because they say one of their strengths is they're able to cherry pick from all their brands from around the world, and that's what you end up with. You end up with an Astro where the hatch is sourced from Opel, and the sedan is a Daewoo. Do you know what I mean? So it's
I thought it was also really interesting as to how quickly Mike Simcoe has become the captain corporate. I'm in Detroit guy, and said, they got a problem down there. And I thought, mate, you're someone who was raised up in the Holden environment. It was your drive and enthusiasm that got the Monaro up second time around. You must have some kind of emotional bond with this company, but he just seemed relatively distant, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
But hey, speaking of design, Toyota has launched new HiLux variants, so the market-leading vehicle at its Aussie Design Centre to reinforce, I imagine, its global cred in that area, given that they've stopped building cars here as well. And Matt, you were there to experience the launch of these. Fill us in.
I was. So if you haven't heard, they've added 3 new models to the HiLux range. So there's the SR-based Rugged, which is the most affordable new model that they've added. Then there's the Rugged X, which is a slightly more hardcore version of that vehicle, but based on the SR5, which is the most popular model in the HiLux range. And then there's the Rogue, which is a stylized, more city-focused, more the foreman than the worker.
So you've got your Rugged, you've got your Rogue. What about the macho or the the bloke? Or
the bloke. The
HiLux bloke.
They've had some interesting names in the past.
Was there any chat about those names? I mean, Rugged just seems a bit, I don't know.
No.
Twee?
No, there wasn't any talk about it.
Okay.
I guess they got to appeal to a certain buyer, and the Rugged and Rugged X are very much aimed at those people who want to be seen as adventurous.
Okay.
Where the Rogue is more of the, I'm a bit of a rebel, like I'm
and
the city guy.
Given that all this happened in their design centre, and much and all as it's like a subjective thing, what did you make of the look of them? Do you think they're going to find buyers out there?
Yeah, I think they will. I think that the Rugged X is the one that they're focusing on most, which is a bit surprising to me. I thought they would have focused more on the Rogue because more and more people are buying these vehicles as dual purpose. The family on the weekend and the work truck during the week. And the Rogue seems to be the vehicle that sells that the best. But they put a lot of focus on Rugged X and, the credibility of it off-road and all that sort of stuff.
So it's definitely Rugged X, not Rugged 10. We haven't got this Apple kind of confusion going on.
No, it's definitely
Rugged X. Yeah. Cool.
And it's it was really interesting to see, behind the scenes of what they do there, how they design things. They showed us they've got this virtual reality setup where they've got a courtyard where the designer can put on a VR headset, walk around the virtual ute in the middle of this actual courtyard.
Wow.
And get up close and see what's what and see if the panel gaps are good and that sort of stuff. I mean, it's pretty coal stuff.
Do you know, I took a VR trip at the New York Motor Show on the Ford stand, and it's the kind of, here's the mobility of the future. And it was flying cars and in it. I felt decidedly queasy by the end of it. I was like, I hope this ends fast because I'm not feeling very good.
A VR trip.
All right. Well, look, that's fantastic. Thank you. But now put your hand on your heart and stand by for some special words from an Aussie icon.
Life's a journey, and for over a century, Winton's been helping Australians enjoy the ride. Behind the wheel of a Winton, you're comfortably in control of the most efficient, enjoyable, and brilliantly engineered car in the world. In fact, from class-leading luxury and performance cars to light trucks, heavy haulers, and agricultural equipment, all supported by our no-haggle lifetime warranty and industry-leading service, Winton covers all the bases. Winton, Australian with a world of difference.
Winton. And our man at Winton, Frosty Chops,
Yes.
head of media and government relations at Winton Motor Company, he left New York under a cloud. Let's just say re-entering the US could be a bit tricky for him. But he's currently in China.
Yes.
And there are, in fact, whispers of a Winton-Wuling joint venture.
China's whispers.
Oh.
Yeah. Wuling's part of the SAIC group. Mm-hmm. And the focus is on a new people mover using the current Winton turbo platform and the Redback V9 drivetrain.
Oh.
So it could be a cracker. And if the Facebook snaps I saw of Frosty in the Tiki Bungalow in Beijing are anything to go by, negotiations are going extremely well.
He's a master at the negotiation.
He is.
He's unbelievable.
Smooth
and he's
talker.
fluent.
I'm struggling to believe that he
Fluent.
exists. Like he's everywhere.
He's an enigma.
And nowhere.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
There's going to be a special edition turbo called the Enigma, which Frosty's had a pretty distinct hand in, by the way.
That's great. I miss Frosty. I would be great to get him into the studio at some point, but he's a busy man.
He's full of promises, and we'll hold him to one of these days. But we were talking about HiLux, and given that the first 3 months of the year have gone by, March sales numbers are in, so we've got first quarter data. Toyota's Ute Hero has topped the charts again, so HiLux is the best-selling vehicle in market, and it was a record month. First quarter sales were up 4.4% year on year, and the biggest improver was Honda. They're up around 50%.
Yeah.
So that shows that they've got the handle back on the tiller and seem to be heading in the right direction. Passenger cars overall were down 7.3%, but micro cars jumped 47% month on month, and that's mainly Kia's Picanto. It's up a whopping 40-odd% year to date, and I think that's largely because they've got some pretty special offers out there. You know, drive away $14,390 and you're in a Picanto, or about $50 a week, 2-point-something% finance, and you've got a new Picanto in your driveway.
How good is that for a station car with 7 years warranty?
Yeah, that's how much couches cost.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
Small SUVs climbed over 30% compared with March last year, and that's HRV, hence big part of Honda's improvement, CX-3, Qashqai, and especially the ASX were all up. So that segment continues to just forge ahead and grow at the expense of conventional cars.
I think that's going back to the Holden story we're talking about. I think that's been one of the failures in Holden. It's just haven't been there like Mazda, like Kia, like Hyundai, even like Ford with, tackling SUVs properly.
Well, it's the malaise they find themselves in, isn't it? Because it sort of dawned on Holden that we're building these really good Commodores, but no one wants them. And the big ship turns slowly. So with all of that manufacturing infrastructure in place, they were a Commodore company.
That's right.
Sort of paying the price, I suppose.
Yeah.
Just on that Hilux, based on that first quarter, they will eclipse 50,000 HiLuxes sales this year. And I think they'll smash that. I think they'll get 52, 53,000.
That's a lot of work sites.
Can I just say, maybe the data's wrong, because I don't see, it's like every single month Hilux comes out on top. Every single year Hilux is the number one car, followed by Corolla and Mazda 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think I see more Corollas and Mazda 3s than I do Hiluxes. Like, according to that data, there should be Hiluxes everywhere.
Richard, you live in Sydney.
Yeah, that's right, isn't it?
Inner Sydney.
I want to talk Queensland.
Okay.
I want to, in fact, talk a line of latitude that divides the country, above which is Hilux country and 70 Series and Land Cruiser. You really got to think about the environment where they're operating.
I live in the Blue Mountains, and I was passed by. They weren't travelling in convoy. They were just travelling to work. It was 6 a.m. on a Monday morning.
Yeah.
6 Hilux SR5 dual cabs in a row
together.
Not in convoy, not associated with one another.
Yeah.
That's just what people buy up there.
So it's the go-to choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, look, out of that, the growth of small SUVs leads us to the topic of Jaguar's E-Pace. Now, that's a very recent release. We had our man Steve Corby there, and he's driven the car. You can have a look at that on our website, his views on it. The question that it raises in my mind is, has that brand moved far enough for a small SUV variant to be credible and profitable? You know, is Jaguar cool enough for younger buyers to want to jump into a really city-sized SUV? What do we think about that, Matt?
I think they want to be cool enough.
Yep.
I don't know, to be honest. I think there's more people, you know, if you're spending $50,000 to $60,000 on an SUV, there's a lot of options out there.
Yeah, true.
And if you're buying, you know, if you're a younger buyer,
Yep.
stretching yourself to 50 or 60 grand,
Yeah.
I don't know whether I'd be looking at a small Jaguar SUV.
Do you know the thing that surprised me in Steve's story? It weighs close to 2 tons.
Yeah.
It's outrageous.
It's incredibly
Yeah.
heavy for its size.
Yep.
So I don't think it's going to be particularly economical or agile. You know, it's a pretty heavy little nuggety bugger.
I've got a friend a bit older, you know, in his 60s, who has an MX-5 and a Porsche 911, and wants a Jag E-Pace. He just loves the Jaguar brand, and all he spoke about while he was over here was, you know, I can't wait to get an E-Pace.
Gee.
And you know, everywhere I go, I see a poster. So they are the billboard posters are everywhere.
Well, that's really interesting because, I mean, if you take a few life cycles ago, Jaguar tried to get into the more profitable part of the market with progressively smaller cars.
Yeah.
They lobbed in the S-Type,
Yes.
which was very much a retro style reworking of a classic model. Then they went to the X-Type, which was a tiny little sedan that ended up being bought by older people. So it was just a cheaper way into a Jaguar for the traditional XJ type buyers.
Yeah.
Here, it seems like a more credible shot at people who are younger, and the price is a lot more approachable.
Yeah.
But, you know, to your point, Matt, there are a lot of choices out there.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you know, the traditional Jaguar buyer might have looked at Jaguar as a sedan and sports car brand.
Yeah.
But like all the other luxury brands, they're turning into an SUV brand.
Exactly.
You can't escape it.
Exactly.
It's just where things are going.
Well, talking of young people, now a word from our cheeky young chums at Oversteer.
When you're done listening to these old farts ramble on,
Can I tell a story?
come and listen to the Oversteer podcast, where we talk about the stuff that kids love.
Story time with Mitchy Boy.
Yeah, because if I don't try, I won't fail.
Like, you know how you roll into a petrol station and you're like,
Would you rather be designated driver for a group of kids on a sugar high or a group of super drunk adults?
Yes, the Oversteer podcast has everything, and you can find it on the CarsGuide website, iTunes, and where all good podcasts are sold.
I don't know.
I hate them.
Yeah. Richard,
Wow.
for such a positive person, Richard, you've got a lot of hate.
but they're just so young that I just find them annoying. Like they think they know everything, and then they know nothing.
Okay,
Really.
back to us, the people that do in fact
yeah,
know everything.
yeah.
And by the way, dear listener, we know that on any given subject, there's going to be someone out there among you that knows a lot more than we do. So let us know when we stuff it up.
Can I actually just already point out a stuff up I've made? Back in that Holden story, I said that the sedan of the Astro was based on the Daewoo.
Yeah, it's
showing
not
my age, it's based on the Chevrolet Cruze.
Yeah, a Daewoo hasn't existed for a little while.
So yes, the hatch is based on the Opel Astra. The sedan is based on the Chevy Cruze. Yeah, sorry, guys.
So for young people, here's another one that might fire up the youngsters. It was at the New York Auto Show. It is incredibly beautiful. It's the Genesis Essentia. Now, ostensibly, it's a concept car, yet at the same time, we're being told it's the basis of a production car. It's a zero tailpipe emission EV, 4-seat but 2-door, and incredibly good looking, just dramatic styling. It's going to underpin the next sort of generation of Genesis cars. How fair dinkum do we think that we'll ever see that on the road? Allegedly by what, 2021?
2021. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's purely to get people talking, which is exactly what's happening now.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it breaks so many ADRs just looking at it that it's just no way that they could possibly do that.
Yeah.
It looks amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
And it's, that's what concept cars are for,
True.
to get you passionate and to start you talking. Genesis as a brand really needs some passion and some exposure, and this
Sure.
is doing it. It's perfectly what a concept does.
Well, if you remember, the existing Hyundai Genesis Coupe was it was the foot in the ground where they stood up and said Genesis is going to be a thing.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So they need a coupe.
Yeah.
They need something sporty.
They
don't,
do.
Like, they've got this couple of sedans.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Well, this car, as much as it's a public statement and is designed to generate excitement, amongst consumers, it's also a corporate statement. And everybody that works for Hyundai and Genesis would be looking at that and thinking, I feel good about this company. It also lets the designers off the leash and lets them produce something that probably wouldn't comply with design regulations anywhere in the world, and expose new technology. And it's Genesis saying we're as good as anybody else, and we can do this. So it's a big statement. Will we see it in the car park at your local Woolies? Absolutely not. No way in the known universe. But it's fantastic. Go to our website. We've got a news spot. Our trusty man Chesto was there on the spot and gives you the lowdown on that car. Now, speaking of low emissions, it's not necessarily what you think of when thoughts turn to the Prancing Horse and Ferrari, yet footage has emerged of at least a hybrid test mule that on the outside looks like a 488. But Richard, you've got the mail on what this actually represents. So the car moves off silently, which would indicate it's either full electric or some kind of hybrid.
Yes, so it was spotted testing and it was silent. So what we can tell is that obviously it's running under an electric drivetrain. At that point, it could be a hybrid. It's not going to be in the 488, even though that's what the mule that was testing it happened to be. It's most likely going to be the hybrid drivetrain, which will appear in Ferrari's first SUV, which will be like a Lamborghini Urus rival.
Yep.
So, that's still off in the distance at this point, but that's what will appear. Yeah.
I suppose that's an interesting place for it to reside, but you'd have to think that much like Porsche with its 911, that Ferrari with its mid-engine kind of sub-supercar or junior supercar would have to be thinking hybrid as well. Yeah. So it may find multiple homes. And if anyone's going to do it well, Ferrari stands a pretty good chance.
Yeah. Well, Marchionne's actually come out and defended hybrid technology to the Ferrari purists and people who think Ferrari should only have V8s and V12s. And there's a great quote here, and it would have Enzo absolutely turning in his grave. He said, "Have you ever driven a Ferrari hybrid? When you do, I'm sure you won't miss a V12."
Whoa! Wow! Well, I mean, the LaFerrari had the HiLuxes. It's a hybrid of the highest order. So presumably, if some of that tech is being developed and filtering down to other cars.
But how big was that LaFerrari? And that's why they're looking towards SUVs, because you've got the packaging practicalities of a larger body
to fold it all in there,
fit everything in.
Yeah.
Well, actually, in that same story, they're talking about how it won't probably make use of the KERS technology, because that's really to supplement power rather than being environmentally conscious thing. So they're trying to make this a proper hybrid.
Wow. All right. Well, we'll see. Speaking of environmental concerns, diesel seems to be really, pardon the pun, on the nose in Europe. There are various cities that are threatening to ban diesel cars either for parts of the day or altogether. And manufacturers are flirting with buyback schemes. That is, they're offering owners the option of cashing their car in if the city they live in ends up banning diesels. So they've got this massive investment in diesel technology, all of this fine-tuning and development to make diesels Euro 6 and more kind of compliant and as clean as possible. And yet it's taken out of their hands with cities just saying, nah, you got a diesel car, you can't come in here. This seems amazing. Could it ever happen here, Matt? What do you reckon?
Not here, I don't think. I think there's a good chance that European cities will enforce these bans in order to reduce these emissions, because there's more European cities and there's more smog. So we don't have that much of an issue in Australia with that side of things. Obviously, yes, diesels can produce smog and they do emit bad things, but Australia's we're so behind on environmental thoughtfulness. That there's no way in the next 20 years we'll see any cities banning diesel in Australia. No way.
The thing is, the way I see it, we could have a bit of a knock-on effect, because if European countries are banning diesel cars, they'll stop producing them, and the majority of diesel cars that come to Australia are European spec cars anyway.
Well, apart from utes.
And I don't think that it'll be a long time before diesel's banned for utes.
Apropos of our conversation a couple of minutes ago, it'd put most of Queensland out of a set of wheels.
Totally. It's shut down.
And it's funny that, because in Europe, pickups and utes like we are getting here and have been getting for years and years, they're just starting to take off there.
Yes.
So what happens then?
Exactly. Yeah, great point. Well, we'll wait and see. It's nice to be spectating from the sidelines.
It is.
Okay, with that, we've reached the finish line. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
And Matt.
Thank you.
And thanks to our producer, Barbara, steering the panel. Some drink from the fountain of knowledge while he just gargles. And thank you for listening. Please let us know what you think of the program. Search for Cars Guide on Facebook and Instagram and use the hashtag CGPodcast, or email us at comments@carsguide.com.au. If you like the show, why not subscribe, rate and review us on iTunes? It means you won't miss an episode and helps let others know about the podcast. Thank you. I hope you can join us next week. Until then, remember, the definition of mixed feelings is when you see your mother-in-law backing off a cliff in your new car.